Welcome to the Early Wedge Tuesday Best Bet Show. I am your host, Eric Cohen. We're coming off an incredible Masters tournament. Hey, how about on this show, we made you guys some money. Now, I don't usually like to give out FRLs, but how about this, 65-1 on Justin Rose. I also gave out Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau, who finished third and fifth, so in the entire tournament. So not too bad for 2-3-5 for my FRLs. And hey, Corey Connors, those matchup wagers that we all gave out, pretty darn good, 3 for 3 there. So a nice way to do the Masters, even though our outrights, we didn't have Rory, but oh well. But let's bring in the stars of the show. No Patrick McDonald again this week. We have the great Nejad, who is the host of the Early Edge, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, the great golf savant bettor that he is. And then you can hear him everywhere. I mean, Sirius XM during Masters Week, he was brilliant on the radio. If you're driving in the car like I was, hearing him do the interview, it is the great Jason Sobel. Sobel, we'll start with you. You're back from Augusta. How was the rest of the weekend?
The weekend was fantastic. I mean, that was as good as it gets at Augusta. I would say over the last 40 years, and granted, that's going back a little bit before my time. I've been covering them for 20, but the last 40 years, there were 4 must-see Sunday afternoons at Augusta National. 1986, Jack Nicklaus, of course, wins at the age of 46. 1997, Tiger Woods wins at the age of 21. 2019, Tiger wins again in his 40s. And then this past weekend, as Rory clinches the career slam, you maybe throw in, I don't know, Greg Norman losing that 6-shot lead. You throw in Phil Mickelson in 2004, maybe Bubba Watson from the trees. There are a lot of really good Masters Sundays. That is up there with any of them, really.
Yeah, it was an epic experience. Sia, you and I watching it on TV. Just your thoughts on Rory's, I don't even know how to describe what Sunday was.
I described it as a roller coaster, which is not some genius word to use. But I mean, I spent an hour talking to Jason Sobel. It's still in everybody's podcast feed if you want to listen to it, to Jason and Rick Gaiman. Josh was in on that podcast as well. And it just seemed like, I mean, how many lives does this guy Rory have? And then finally, it turns out, you know, when he needed to hit a clutch shot, he'd hit it. And when he was in position to win the tournament, that's when he'd hit a bad shot. And it just happened over and over again. I'll tell you what, the theater behind it would have been one thing if he just beat Bryson and just slowly drifted away from him. But the fact that the Masters had Rory versus Bryson on Sunday, which is just such an epic matchup in and of itself, but then to bring back in guys like Ludwig and Justin Rose, I mean, it's just a dynamic that we did not think we were going to see. It was fireworks all over the place. I didn't have a dog in the fight. You know, I wasn't as big on, hey, I need Roy to win the career Grand Slam or anything like that. And I say that to say this. I was rooting so hard for him at the end, because that is no way to lose an Augusta or a Masters that you've been chasing for so long. And I like Justin Rose too. I know Jason had some words during our recap show about Justin Rose, but if Rory had lost that, there's not a single person in the world that would have been okay with that. It was just the setup. I'm just saying.
There's some haters. Go ahead, Sobel.
It was easy. It got to the point, and this was really the entire Sunday going into the final round. He's up 2 with a 54-hole lead. This was always going to be either the greatest moment of Rory McIlroy's career or the biggest heartbreak of Rory McIlroy's career. Once it got to he's leading in the final pairing going into Sunday, like there was no in between. I know some people, and I put this on Twitter, and some people are like, well, if he shoots 68 and Bryson or somebody else shoots 65 and beats him by 1, like it's still, he didn't get it done on a Masters Sunday when he had the best chance of his entire life. And so those were the only 2 options. And as it turned out, just barely, it's the best moment of his entire career.
Yeah. All right, I got to ask you 2 more before we get going here. Was the buzz on Sunday unlike anything that you had been to at a golf tournament other than Tiger Woods in 2019?
Yeah, greatest non-Tiger buzz that I've ever seen. The Tiger buzz is different than anything you'll ever see. Man, who said this the other day? Someone I was speaking with, one of the players I was speaking with, post-round interview, and we're talking about the roars through the trees. And they said, look, nothing will compare with Tiger. They said one year I heard this massive roar, and I'm like, oh my God, somebody hold out for eagle. It turns out Tiger had made a 4-foot par putt on 9. and the place just went absolutely bonkers after Tiger did that. So you can't compare anything to what Tiger was doing at Augusta National and really anywhere else because the crowds were massive. But I walked the first 7 holes, or at least tried to walk the first 7 holes with Rory and Bryson. And quite frankly, if you didn't have a seat that was already in a good position and you could watch them as they were coming through, if you were trying to go shot by shot and keep up with them, which I was trying to do, you had absolutely no chance of seeing anything.
So is it better to watch a big tournament like that on television with the coverage, or be there without your cell phone and not knowing what's going on? Honestly,
okay. I will defer to one Jack Nicklaus, who I remember, this is a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, was asked at the Memorial Tournament, and granted different than Augusta National, but there was a local reporter there who said, Jack, if you could sit anywhere and watch this tournament, where would it be? Jack says, well, I'd go sit on my couch and watch on TV because that's the best place to watch everything. And so I've always thought about that. I'm like, look, if it's good enough for Jack, it's good enough for me. And I know we all want to be, I don't know, not martyrs, but you want to be in the moment. You want to be there and you want to see everything. If it's a big tournament and it's big names and it's coming down the stretch, you're not going to see everything there. It's great to be able to say, hey, look, I went out at 8 o'clock in the morning at Augusta National. I put my chair right behind the final green, and I walked around all day, and I came back to that chair, which you're allowed to do, and I watched Rory finish, and then I watched the playoff, and I was right there for it. Amazing. For 99.7% of the people who are at Augusta National, you're sitting there going, who's winning? What happened over there? And the cool thing is, without cell phones there, and no one really knows what's going on, no screens, no cell phones, it's almost whisper down the lane. And people will say, like, hey, I heard Rory just put one in the water on 13. Rory put one on the water on 13. What did he do? Rory in the second or third shot? I think it was his third. And literally, it's just this wave of whispering. And that's how you get your information.
That's cool. It's old school. Yeah. I will say this, having been at the last round of the U.S. Open, Friday, Sunday at the U.S. Open last year, trying to find a seat for the 18th hole, which is dramatic between Bryson and Rory, I had to sit on the first tee box, and I got there probably an hour and a half before the final pairing. And I was still sitting a few hundred yards away, and I could zoom in and see what happened, but I didn't have a good view of Bryson out of the bunker. You're watching on TV, see you sitting there watching on TV, has a much better view than I do of that. Though it was cool to be there and be in the moment and win a lot of money. When Bryson won, that was cool. I get it. Watching at home is not necessarily the worst thing. All right, well, we'll all be watching at home, I think, unless Jason's going this weekend to South Carolina for the RBC Heritage. Sia, you are not a fan of these signature events.
I'm not, and I don't want to belabor the point. I mean, I was really excited. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that the first thing I tweeted out after the Masters was that I was going to deep dive into the Corrales Puntacana. I'm not saying I like that tournament more than the RBC Heritage, but when it comes to a signature event, and I don't know, EC, maybe you or Jason, and I know Patrick might know the answer to this question too, but I don't know what the structure of signature events is going to be next year. But I just think, without a cut, I think it takes away just a huge dynamic. I would have preferred this be 100 or 140, whatever it is. I just don't like, I guess, what's the new number now? Like 136, 132, that would constitute a full field. I'm just not a big fan of these no-cut events. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't add more people in outside of, trying to get the round in and things of that nature, but we can do that. I'm not a big signature guy.
Jason, I'll let you touch on that.
I don't have a problem with the signature events. It's different. Like we used to get, there are 4 of the top 10 on the PGA Tour at this event. And then the next week there's 6 of the top 10. Then we get 5 of the top 10. And it was kind of mixed up. I think it's a little bit better as it is right now. There's more of a have and a have not split between the tournaments on the schedule. That said, I don't love shortened fields. I don't love no cut events. Make the signature events 100 players, 120 players, have a cut to whatever half of that number would be and let them play it out on the weekend. I don't think you should be given free money and free points. I mean, we're talking about Max Homa hadn't made a cut since when? And it's like, no, he made cuts. He just played in free money events that didn't have a cut. So it skews everything a little bit too much. And I don't like that. I think you should have to work for your money on the weekend and try to get there. And that said, as much as I love Harbor Town, and I do, this is one of my favorite courses on tour. Had the chance to play there last September on a big SiriusXM trip that we did. It's one of my absolute favorites, and I love this tournament. I've been there. I'll tell some stories later on about being there, but I just don't like a signature event butted up to a major championship either. It's like, let's let everything breathe a little bit too. And we don't have a chance to do that. This is a perfect antidote to the pressure cooker that we saw at Augusta National last week. And yet we're trying to put these guys in a little bit of a pressure cooker already. It's like, oh, you're going to play against the best. Let them breathe. This is a vacation week. This is put your toes in the sand, having a drink with an umbrella in it, relax after a tough Masters. You don't have to, sit there on the range banging balls for 8 hours a day. And hopefully the guys who were in it last week get a chance to do it. And quite frankly, that's going to sort of frame my picks this week a little bit too, where I'm not really going after too many guys who are very closely in the mix at Augusta National.
I tried not to cheat for later in the show, so we'll see what you deliver for us, though I did read your BetMGM article yesterday, so I'm kind of afraid with one of your outrights that you may throw in there compared to my do not bet list, but we'll talk about that later in the show. Yeah. So you and I kind of have a similar storyline here. You call it Masters hangover. I say, how do we keep up the momentum here? So how do we overcome this momentum or this hangover / keep up the momentum this week in South Carolina?
It's a great question. I think this is, and I meant it less in terms of the tour and more in terms of the players themselves. And you'll see I have really one player that I'm looking at, and I know he's on the do not bet list, but I really like him this week. He may be coming off a literal Masters hangover if he went and partied with his buddy. And I'm probably giving you too much information there already. But yeah, these guys are coming off a long week. I can tell you this. I used to. This is a little story for you. This isn't story time, but this is a little one for you. But way back in the day, I mean, we're talking 15 years ago, somebody, I think it was Kenny Perry, skipped an event. It was like 3 in a row, 3 pretty big events. And I kind of criticized the guy on TV and in print. And I said, you've got to go play the bigger events. Why would you not go? And I saw the player and, we didn't fight about it, but we had a nice little discussion about why he decided not to play. And it was about a year later that I went and covered 3 events in a row on the road. I'm doing nothing out there. I'm not playing golf. I'm not putting my body through the ringer. I'm not walking 18 holes. I'm not doing all the things they're doing. I can tell you that after 3 weeks of just being on the road, just living in hotels, living out of a suitcase, and just being out there with the guys, I was exhausted. I'm exhausted right now, and I was only out there for a week last week, and I didn't work that hard. Trust me. For these guys to go out there the week after the Masters and have to go play again against the Scotty Schefflers and the Xanders and the Collins, I'm telling you, it is a grind out there.
Yeah, when you see these guys play every week, the Ben Griffins, the Eric Coles, for example, Sung J M, who are playing 30-plus events a year, you kind of wonder how they do it. I mean, I hear stories, obviously, from you covering it. It's been a good perspective, to have been working with you for the last couple months, kind of hearing these stories. So that's why we always enjoy Sobel Storytime, which we'll have more of later in the show. Let's get to FRLs, though. Last week, we made some money. See, I'm going to let you start first here. You and I actually share one, FRL, which is good. But let's give us your picks because that's what everybody's tuning in for. They want to make some money in this department.
Well, listen, they need to be listening to you. Good job hitting the 65-1. I thought I had something. Don't forget, I had the 100-1 shot on Steven Yeager, and he jumped out to like the first round lead. I think he was 4 under. He had about 6 or 7 holes to play in the first round, and then he went double, and then he went bogey, and that's all she wrote. So it felt good for a second, but then you took over with Justin Rose. So congratulations to you there. I'll be quick because I'm going to talk about some of these players later. I've got Sepp Straka at 40-1. These are morning tee times, by the way. Sepp Straka 40-1, Bud Cauley 55-1, Ryan Gerard 70-1, and Sammy Valimaki at 125-1. Gerard and Valimaki have not played RBC Heritage before, so that is usually a cross-off for me when it comes to first round leaders, or at least it used to be a cross-off for me. But these guys really jump off the page when it comes to having spike rounds. And that's obviously what you're looking for a first round leader. And I particularly love Gerard in terms of how he can spike with the approach and the putting play. Again, Sepp Straka, Bud Cauley, they'll come up later in the show several times, probably. Those are my 4 first round leaders for this tournament. I will tell you, I will tweet out tomorrow first round leaders for the Corrales Puntacana as well. We also have outrights to talk about on this show for Corrales.
I'm going to go with 3 of them here. You and I are going to share Ryan Gerard for this one. Has the 5th lowest round 1 scoring average on tour. And he got a share in Houston a few weeks ago, so we'll give him another shot. Victor Hovland here is shooting a 64.5 in the fir 1st round at RBC Heritage, 2 for 2, I believe, in the top 10 here in the FRLs. And Aaron Rai, 1 for 1 here with a 63 in 2023 where he was the first round leader. I don't think I can strike lightning twice in back-to-back weeks, but I'm going to take a shot. With no Patrick McDonald here, I have to fill in a little bit here, so we're going to give it a shot. Sobel, I really like your picks actually here. A couple of guys that are horses for the courses, or horse for the course here at the RBC Heritage.
Yeah, well, Mutual Admiration Society. I actually think Aaron Rye is a really nice play as well. By the way, before we move on, I just want to clarify, and I'm going to answer some of the comments here. I don't know how to post a comment, so if you guys hear me reacting to your comments, I'm not posting because I have absolutely no idea how to do that. So Jeff says, yeah, rough life, Sobel. You must be tired of pimento cheese and bourbon. I'm not complaining, guys. I'm not complaining. Like, it was an unbelievable week. It's my favorite week of the year. Hung out with all my buddies in a rental house. And yeah, there might have been a little bourbon and a little pimento cheese. That's fine. I'm just saying I'm exhausted. I'm just saying that it's hard being out there on the road for that long. Jen M says, to be fair, they're getting paid to play golf. Again, they're not complaining either. They're not saying like, this is bull. I can't believe I gotta go play golf again. Rory's taking the week off, and he was always planning that. Hideki's taking the week off. So not everyone's playing, and there's no more penalties. When Rory took off this week a few years ago, it was like he didn't get the PIP money that year. He had other stuff going on in his life that week, and so he didn't play. There was a penalty, but no longer is that an issue, so they don't have to go. But I'm just saying it's tough out there, and I'm just trying to identify guys that have a little gas in the tank. If you were looking for the best writer / broadcaster / whatever the hell else I do, I would fade me this week because I just had a big week and I'm tired. So I'm looking for the guys who are playing this week that I want to fade. Okay, all of that said, no one's complaining. Everyone's happy. We get to play golf. We get to cover golf. Patrick Cantlay has a fantastic record here. He's done everything but win at Harbor Town. I'm not quite there at that number, or a number a little shorter than that for an outright. So I'm going to play him for a first round leader play because he can step on that gas pedal in a hurry. And JT Poston, who I really do like here for a few different, top tens, and he's been top 10 4 of 6 starts at Harbor Town. This is the place to target him. On Bermuda greens, a ball striker's paradise. Length off the tee is not an issue at all. So Poston's another guy that I like for first round leader plays, but quite frankly, I like him for pretty much everything this week as well.
Yeah, the history here, the top 10 history for JT Poston is phenomenal here. So I really like both those picks. Same with Patrick Cantlay. And we'll talk more about those guys later in the show. Coming up next, C has taught me a lot in a couple of years of doing this show. And now I'm going to finally emulate him in the next segment after we hear from one of our sponsors. They say imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. You'll find that out here shortly. First of all, Sia, you got a couple of matchup plays, including one in round one.
Yeah, we're going to do a round one matchup. Matchups are out pretty much across the board. I just wasn't in love with a lot of them. There's going to be more matchups that come out with, I guess we're not going to have 3 balls for obvious reasons, but I may post more matchups like in SportsLine's Discord or maybe even on Twitter, but these are the 2 that jumped out at me. This is funny because David talked this entire show. By the way, thank you for being in the chat, everybody. Has been promoting this Bud Cauley 2-ball for round one, which is really interesting because normally we're talking tournament matchups even in the chat. And it just so happens this week I've come with a round one matchup, and it's exactly what David Talk pointed out. So credit to him. I like Bud Cauley minus 125 over Nick Taylor. I know we're going to talk about the top Canadian market. So effectively, EC, you're rooting for this one too, because Nick Taylor, Taylor Pendrith, probably the 2 most involved in that market. Bud Cauley has only played here once. He played fine. It was like 5 years ago. His ball striking was fine. He did miss the cut ultimately because of some short game issues, if memory serves correctly. But this guy has been an animal since last October. I mean, the sample size is long enough for me to be able to rely on it. The fact that he has some experience here, I think is a benefit. As far as Nick Taylor, he has more experience, but it's not very good experience at RBC. And frankly, over the last few tournaments, which I'll admit is a small sample size, he's been pretty bad. Prior to that, he was actually really, really good, particularly with the ball striking and pretty much the all-around game. But where their games are right now and where Nick Taylor's game is at Harbor Town specifically, I just like this play. Round one, Bud Cauley minus 125. The next one is going to be controversial, I think, because Sung Jae Im's track record at Harbor Town is so good. It's so consistent. I just can't get over what I'm seeing with the approach play specifically. Yes, he had a good finish last week at the Masters. It was all short game. I don't want to take anything away from him because that's really impressive and he might need that here. But the approach play has been really, really bad. And you contrast that with Straka, who, yes, he missed the cut last week, and that was mostly because of short game. He is an animal on approach. I think that's going to be critical here. I think we all do. So I just think Sepp Straka, I think we're getting some value in this tournament matchup because of Sepp Straka missing the cut last week and Sungjae Im looking pretty impressive overall for the first time in a little bit. So I'll go ahead and take the value, Straka -110. That one's a tournament matchup over Sungjae Im.
Fair enough. I can't argue with any of those two. All right, Sobel, I like going with a couple. Well, you got a horse for the course in the first one, and the second one, an elite player who's starting to break out. Start with Jordan Spieth, though.
Yeah, well, first of all, and Sia, just a word of warning. Look, Sepp Straka is a good number there over Sungjae. Sungjae just tends to get hot and stay hot. If you go back over the last 3 or 4 years, all of his good results come in bunches. It's like he goes 3-4 weeks in a row, really good, loses it for a couple of months, 3 or 4 weeks, really good. And so that's why I'm a little scared. I get the numbers aren't quite there yet, but coming off a top 5 last week at Augusta, I'm just a little weary of him in that matchup. That said, okay, I'll get to mine. Jordan Spieth, I was on the featured group coverage for Masters Radio last Saturday for our pregame coverage and called every shot from Jordan Spieth just about during the round. It looks like there's something there. It's not quite where he needs it to be, especially going into his own chase for the Career Slam next month at Quail Hollow for the PGA Championship. But I do like Spieth. By the way, Sia, should I retell the story that I told on Sunday night show about calling a Spieth shot?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do this. By the way, guys, put in the chat, if you hate Sobel story time, I will stop and I'll just give you bets. And I'll just sit here and give you bets.
Nobody hates
Nobody
Sobel
does.
story time. Nobody hates it. We all
might hate story time. You guys like it. They might all hate it. And they might be tuning out because they hate story time. Okay, here we go. I'm calling the featured group Jordan Spieth and Minwoo Lee on Saturday. No, he wasn't with JT was with Minwoo. Who's Jordan with on Saturday? So Joaquin Neiman. On Saturday. Okay, get that out of the way. I'm sitting next to, for an hour of our coverage, Hale Irwin comes in. I don't know Hale Irwin at all. I've met him once or twice. He's sitting there with me, and within a few minutes, I don't know, I said, someone putted one past the hole. He'll clean that up. It's only a foot away. He goes, what? That's 3 feet away. I go, I don't know. He's putting it back up the hill. He'll make it. He's PGA Tour superstar. Not a big deal. And Hale's like, oh, all right. And I said something else, and I got a shut up on air from Hale Irwin, which is like top 5 career achievement right there. So we're immediately, we went from 0 to 60. We've never even really met each other. We don't know each other. And he's already given me crap on air while we're calling this live from Augusta, from the press building down in the basement there. So we get to number 9, and I'm calling Spieth shot. So he's got 30 feet up the hill, pinned in the back left, should break about 4 or 5 feet left to right. And as he's about to get over it, Hale says, what do you think? Is he going to make this one? I said, no, it's 30 feet up the hill, breaking 5 feet. No, he's not going to make it. And Hale said, I'm a golfer. Us golfers, we like to go out on a limb. I say he makes it. And I go, Hale, I'm a bettor. I'll give you 3-1. So I call it. I say, Jordan Spieth now getting over his ball, takes the club head back. It's an up the hill. It is breaking left to right. It is going at the hole, and I owe Hale Irwin a whole bunch of. I actually took a picture. We didn't bet for a denomination. I took a picture with him where I'm handing him $100 bill, and I look sad, and he looks happy. And then he tried taking the $100 bill. I'm like, get out of here! Like, money. We didn't actually bet. I would have to make a $33 bet at 3-1 for you to take my hundo. I'm not giving you money, Hale. Okay, all that said. All right, sorry.
Yeah. That was really good. I got to give you that was
excellent.
That's pretty awesome.
It was fun. It was actually one of my favorite things from the weekend, at least work-wise. So that said, Spieth, horse for the course. I am not convinced on Viktor Hovland. I'm actually really impressed that he's doing what he's doing. I get the sense Viktor Hovland is really impressed that he's doing what he's doing. Some reporters, and I was in the media scrum in the Flash area, I believe on Friday or Saturday. Victor was at Friday, I think. Victor was asked, how his swing is right now. He's like, it's about a 6. I said, well, how was it at the Valspar when you won? He said, about a 4.5. I said, oh, well, what about before that? Earlier this year, I didn't even register on the scale. It was a 0. And so he is not where he needs to be. He's still working on things. I don't think the confidence level is where it needs to be. I'll take Spieth in that matchup. And very quickly, loved Ludwig last week. He's going to win a major very, very soon. That said, he's going to be exhausted after that one. I know he's young. I know he gets over it. Xander is absolutely trending in the right direction. I've got another Xander play for you guys in a minute, but I love Xander at even money in that matchup.
I just want to say from the comments, and make sure if you want to post in the comments, you have to like our page, first of all. And please like this video as well. If you're going to do liking, just do double like here. Sobel, that's what you have to do. You have to join the SportsLine. Make sure to like SportsLine, and then you can post here. David talks to Sobel. We love Storytime. And Mutandis says, no way, Jason. Storytime is the best.
All right,
I agree. He agrees.
That's two. All I needed. I just needed two.
I mean, we all enjoy it. So we're going to keep it going here. All right. So Sia taught me last year what top Oceania was. Sia, do you want to explain to the audience what is Oceania?
It's effectively Australia and New Zealand, but it technically incorporates some very small islands in that region as well. But from a golf betting standpoint, you're either going to get Australia or New Zealand in that top Oceania market. And
that is why Sia Nejad is Sia Nejad. He's a star. Me, who's non-cultured, that's what you get. That's why I asked him to explain it. So here's where we're going. We're going Cam Davis, the guy that's missed 5 cuts in a row over Jason Day, Minwoo Lee, Adam Scott, and Carl Phillips. Am I crazy? Maybe. However, Cam Davis has a T3 here in 2022 and a T7 in 2023, and none of these other guys really have a great course history. So I'm going to take a shot at this number. And if you watch the show every week, you don't need me to explain Corey Connors because this just wins every week.
Yeah.
Steve and I usually play it, and it wins. So Corey Connors right now is in incredible form. He has 4 top 10s in his last 5. He was T4 here in 2021. His finishes here are trending the wrong way, but regardless, I'm going to take a shot at a plus number on top Canadian Corey Connors. I love these markets. These are fun. Sia, you taught me these last year, and that's why I'm going to play them in the matchups column every week just because, I like seeing a plus in front of my odds. So we'll go with that. All right, let's go on to finishing positions. This is where things get fun, and I am so proud. I'm going to let Sobel start first because I'm so proud of you. You have a parlay. That is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about on this show. Go ahead, Sobel.
Boys, I still feel like the rookie here. I'm still new. I don't know what the rules are. So I see EC making parlays. I'm like, I don't know. He's really important here. He hosts the show. If he can do parlays, I guess I can do it. That's normally what I do. I make a lot of parlays. So I should make them here on the show. I just didn't want to break any rules and get in trouble for anything. So I'm going to start off with a parlay. I actually wrote up in my BetMGM article this week a top 5 parlay on Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele. I really like them, but I'm going to get a little more cautious here because we get to ring all the bells and whistles if we get one right. And I do like top 5, but I feel like top 10 is a little more conservative. But I like both these guys. Really short numbers there. I think Morikawa's maybe even shorter than even money, and Xander's right around the plus 110 area. But Xander, like I said, trending in the right direction. This is a perfect golf course for Colin Morikawa. We've been waiting for Morikawa to win. I think it's Morikawa, quite honestly, not Scheffler, who's the card killer, the potential card killer this week, that if you're fading the top of the board and you're looking for guys in that 30-1 range and bigger for outrights, I think it's Morikawa who has the best chance of hurting us and not Scheffler this week. I could get burned by that, of course, too. But I'm taking the parlay on those two. And then Eric Cole was playing some really good golf. He did not play last week. You mentioned he's a guy that plays every single week he's allowed to play. He didn't qualify for the Masters. He's got to be chomping at the bit to get out there and go play again against a whole bunch of guys who are really tired. I love him for a top 20.
Hey, I wrote up Eric Cole and Schauffele in my $1 million parlay article, which was a rough go last week. Somebody in our Discord chat gave me the business about it. But hey, I had Patrick Reed in there, and he finished 3rd, so we'll take that where we can get him. All right, Sia, you're going with a conservative play, the top 30 market this week.
You know me. I'm usually pretty conservative, although I probably could afford to change that up. Like, for example, Ryan Gerard at top 30. I almost made that a top 20 play because I think Gerard can be very hit or miss. I think he could have a great tournament because he can spike on approach and with the putter, but he can also kind of go the other way, particularly on approach. So I think Gerard was the one I was like kind of considering from like a ladder standpoint. So I'm just going to start there. I like the top 30 at plus 140. Bud Cauley, by the way, I mentioned Bud Cauley's missed cut. It was last year. It wasn't in 2020. So I apologize about that. But again, that was mostly short game issues. And really, he hasn't had any issues short game or ball striking. So I think Bud Cauley in the top 30 at this number, minus 105, is pretty comfortable. This, of course, includes ties as well.
Sia, was that a conscious effort by you to take a couple guys that didn't play in the Masters last week and sort of go after guys that are going to be fresher?
So to be honest with you, no, because that has been kind of running through my mind ever since the DFS show we did yesterday. But this was not a conscious effort. This was, I really like Bud Cauley and I really like Ryan Gerard's upside. So it's a happy accident, like a convenient accident, that it turns out these guys should be pretty well rested. I think that's way more important between these two guys. I think it's more important for a guy like Bud Cauley, who just played here last year and has shown tremendous upside.
Patrick Cantlay is on my do not bet list outright, but is a top 10 here at the RBC Heritage at Harbortown. You almost have to. He has 5 top threes, a T7, and a missed cut in 7 appearances. I mean, that's 6 top 10s and 7 appearances. How do you not play him at plus 160 here? Lost 7 shots around the green last week en route to a T36. Not great, but he already has 2 top 5s this year, and I actually wouldn't mind if you played that instead at plus 350, but I'm being a little conservative with the top 10 at plus 160. And then Tom Hoagie, really like the way that he's playing right now, T3, T5, and T14 in his last 3, and he's gained more than 20 shots, tee to green combined at the Players, Valero, and the Masters. His course history here is not great, but he did have an 18th place finish last year. It was his best in 7 tries, and I think a top 20 at 2-1, maybe higher. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Tom Hoagie is a guy to keep in mind. Coming up next, we're going to see if my do not bet list is going to be in danger this week. I'm going to say Sia says no, and Sobel, we'll find out after we hear from one of our sponsors.
Baby, we are gonna start a fire.
From world-renowned clubs
simply devastating
to worldwide stars,
Wrexham have done it. This incredible ride continues.
the English Football League on CBS Sports Network, and stream every match live on Paramount Plus.
You know, David Talk says it best about our last segment. He said Sia has been a printing press.
Yeah, but
top 30s and 40s.
But last week I was 0 for 2. So I have been hot overall this year. But I mean, I got to be honest. Last week wasn't my best. I hit that Corey Connors bet, and I did well with my round matchups. And by the way, I do have to say something for those of you that track my bets on the early edge and the bets that I put out on Twitter over the weekend. So, Jason, it was you that had Xander over Ludwig, right, at plus 100. Well, you might recall the story I told on Sunday,
Yes.
which is I tweeted out Xander over Ludwig as one of my plays. And again, round matchups, I ended up having a winning week. Early wedge, I didn't in terms of the Tuesday show. But Xander was down big in that matchup. And I had already tweeted out, okay, I took the L here. Sorry, everybody. And then Ludwig gets to 18 and triple bogeys. And I'm watching it. Like, at that point, I really didn't care what was going on about Rory. I was like, is this really happening? Can I possibly win this bet? And not only did I win it, it wasn't even close. He wasn't even close on the double bogey putt. That was just a really fun thing.
I'm telling you what, Sia, as I learned many years ago watching March Madness, you never circle the pick until it's officially over.
Yeah, it was reverse.
I don't know if you remember. I'm going to give you one. Hampton, Iowa State, 2001. I was in my senior year of high school. Hampton was a 15 seed. They were down like 15 with 5 minutes left. Iowa State did not score again. There's a famous clip where the Hampton player lifts his coaches kicking his legs in the air. Yeah. That is my rule going forward. I never want to hear anybody, when somebody says, great hit, till it's over. It's not over. Just want to say that. Sobel, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, as I told Sia the other night, that's one of those that's so egregious that the tour is going to call up Ludwig and say, there's this guy that had a big bet against you, and then you go bogey triple the last 2 holes. Is there something going on here? Do you know Sia? We got to check your phone and make sure there's no text messages between the 2 of you guys. So, yeah.
If I was on the other side, I would quit betting golf.
That would have been such a tough loss. Such a tough loss.
And I like to usually bet those because it's a fun action play. That'd be and I've lost some sickening ways. That's an all-timer. All right, let's see the do not bet list this week. Last week, I don't think we were ever in danger here. Xander was 11-1 last week, and he never really made a threat. Shane Lowry gave us a little bit of a scare. This week, though, Matt Fitzpatrick's won here before. Patrick Cantlay has the course history. Shane Lowry, part of the reason, Sobel, before you get to your picks, part of the reason that Shane Lowry is on my do not bet list was I believe it was 2022. I had an outright on Shane Lowry here. and he had a meltdown down the stretch. I think he finished like third. He hit one in the water. I think that was this tournament where he hit one in the water that was like an inexplicable on a par 3. And I said, never again, betting Shane Lowry outright. So, Sia, I'm going to ask you, is this list really in danger of getting another cross out this week?
Nope. It is not in danger. You're good. I don't believe in, and as I scan the picks board and look ahead a little bit, I don't believe in Patrick Cantlay right now. I was actually going to ask Jason because he's around all of these guys, interviewing so many of them as well. Like he would be the guy I would be worried about. I mean, I credit to Matt Fitzpatrick and guys like Max Homa who really played. I mean, Max Homa played well all 4 rounds. Matt Fitzpatrick not so much, but he was still really impressive. So credit to those guys. But I just don't think they're in a position to win this tournament. As far as Patrick Cantlay, though, like I feel like the Patrick Cantlay that we remember from like 3 years ago, I just don't know that guy exists right now.
Jason?
Quite honestly, I never even saw Patrick, didn't talk to him last week. So I've got no special insight into him whatsoever, but I think it's there. I think it's there. I think it's coming. I think it's just sort of, if these guys, if the whole season is a horse race, there are certain guys, Rory's, 4 lengths ahead of everybody else right now. And Xander's starting to catch up a little bit and Collins up here and Patrick's still back there. Doesn't mean he can't finish strong, but he is lagging behind the other superstars right now. I do have one from the auto fade list that's going to get crossed off this week, EC, but I'm hearing from my boy out in the desert that Tommy Ladd versus Shane Lowry is getting a lot of steam so far in the first couple days of this week.
Really? Interesting. Well, I fine if they finish second and third, but next week we'll talk about Shane Lowry. And by the way, he's exempt from next week. Notice how I put the parentheses because last year I got hosed on that list when he and Rory won the.
You did get hosed.
In New Orleans. Yeah, that was not good.
One of us would win with Rory right now.
Well, I don't know about. Oh, you might, and not me. All right, Sobel, who is going to spoil the no bet list this week?
It's Shane Lowry, man. I had him last week, and he was right there until he wasn't. Shot 81 in the final round. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Maybe he was thinking about his boy Rory and going out there playing well. This is a narrative play for me. Yes, there's some course history. Yes, the long-term ball striking has been terrific for Shane Lowry, but this is a narrative play too. He was right there off the 18th green when Rory won this golf tournament, picked him up in the air, gave him a big bear hug. I wouldn't doubt if Shane Lowry maybe stuck around for a little bit of a celebration afterwards. Who knows? I don't know if Shane likes doing that kind of stuff, but I have a feeling he may have, helped celebrate and helped in the revelry just a little after Rory McIlroy's victory the other day. So again, there's a motivation play here. It's like, hey, my boy just did that. I'm going to go do it as well. I'm feeling something. So I do like Lowry at that number. I'm also going after Denny McCarthy. Look, the ball striking's been improved pretty much every single year he's been on tour. We know what a good putter he is. If he just put the ball on the green this week, small greens, you're going to have a smaller greens in regulation percentage than we usually see. If Denny McCarthy can hit a decent amount of greens in regulation and give himself a chance with the flat stick, I love him this week. And then Maverick McNeely, that number has drifted to a number that's really good. Remember, he won the RSM Classic last year. There are very few courses on the PGA Tour that correlate as well as Sea Island and Harbor Town. So I love him for that reason. I also love him for the fact that it wasn't that long ago. It was API in the Players Championship where he shot 80 and 81 in the second round for those two events. I don't know what was going on. He was a little lost, but if there's a theme over the last month, it's guys who were lost finding something very quickly. Victor Hovland went from, I don't know what I'm doing right now, to winning the Valspar. Max Homa went from, I can't even come close to making a cut to finishing 12th at the Masters. I think that Maverick McNeely can turn things around very quickly and get there, and that's a really good number. If this tournament was being played 2 months ago, he would have been half this number.
Okay, real quick, EC. I really like that number on Maverick McNeely as well. I think he's a sneaky DFS play, and we do have the live show tomorrow at 10:30. It's me and Rick normally, and we're going to go over ownership too. But Mike McClure is probably going to jump in on that show too, and we know he's kind of the game theory guru, ownership guru as well. So you're not going to want to miss that. But I have to mention something. The chat it was Gen M earlier, because you just reminded me, Jason, because you said the word lost. When you said Top Oceania, EC, Oceania, Gen M was like, isn't that the name of the airliner in the show Lost? And I looked it up because I didn't know. I've seen Lost, but I didn't know. And it is Oceanic Airlines. So I just wanted to give her credit for that great find on a reference.
I was also going to say, I believe somewhere in Oceania, there are countries where penguins are being tariffed.
I think that's true.
I think that's probably true as well. And on to the next. Sia, you and I tend to agree, and it's great. I feel better about my picks. It's kind of a tough week, but I feel a lot better when I see Sia Nejad matching my top play this week in Justin Thomas.
Yeah, it's only the second time this year that I've taken Justin Thomas, and I'm trying to remember. I don't know why I can't remember this. It was just a few weeks ago where I had him as an outright as well, and he had a really bad first round and then shot the course record in the second round. And then it was the following week. I guess that would have been the Valspar. Is that what Hovland won the Valspar, right? Mm-hmm. So it would have been at the Valspar where Justin Thomas should have won that tournament. Yeah. And like everything has been looking good for Justin Thomas. So you take all that context and you talk about what he's done at RBC. And what I love is when you look at the metrics, they're so good every time he comes here. And what that tells me about Justin Thomas is that he is managing this course better than he manages other courses. Because off the tee, he's good. Approach, he's predictably good. And with the short game, he's good as well. So I just feel like this is a course where Justin Thomas is really, really comfortable. He's certainly got some history to prove that. What is it? 2 top 5s over his last 4 tournaments, something like that. I just think we almost found Justin Thomas in the winner's circle just 2 weeks ago. Hovland somehow passed him. I still can't really explain how that happened because JT looked really good down the stretch and he was very confident. If he finds that confidence again here, which he typically does, I think he finally closes the door here at 20-1. And I'll just footnote here, I've talked about Bud Cauley enough, 55-1, but it's in the without market. I like this number in the without market on Bud Cauley, without Scotty, without Colin, without Ludwig. And by the way, it's without Xander Schauffele as well. That's added to it's the big 4. And I like Bud Cauley at 55-1 without them.
Yeah, I don't have much to say more on Justin Thomas. Really like him this week. He's got to get off the schneid here. He hasn't won since 2022, the PGA Championship. It's almost 3 full years. He's going to win one of these events, these big events, and I think this is as good a week to do it. I think he was 5th here last year, gaining strokes in all categories, so that was a good sign. Jordan Spieth, it's in that 3-week stretch where you kind of have to pick him, right? He has 5 top 12 finishes in 8 starts here, including that playoff win in 2022, and he probably should have gone back-to-back in 2023 before losing in a playoff to Matt Fitzpatrick. So he's been great here, and he has top 14s in each of his last 2 events. Had a T4 in Scottsdale, T9 at PGA National, so the form is there. 25-1 without the big 4. I will take that. Daniel Berger, he burned me at the Cognizant. I'm still bitter about it, not getting that top 20. And he was up there. Actually, I had him to win there as well. 30-1 without the big 4. He was T3 here in 2020. That was when he was kind of in similar form to the way he is now. He's been very good in all-around play this season, minus some issues around the greens. But he gained nearly 5 strokes ball striking at Augusta, which is a good omen for success this week. Let's move on to long shots. And yes, we will have some picks from the Corrales Puntacana. We know Sia and Jason will have some picks after we get to long shots. So let's get right to it. Sobel, Tom Hoagie's a guy that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. I did. And you're going to play him outright at a big number.
Yeah, I'm looking at him at 80-1 right now. And look, he's a ball striker. This is a guy that anytime you have a second shot golf course, anytime that iron play is going to be prominent. And I had this on Twitter earlier, and as part of my preview that I wrote up, and I said we're looking for ball strikers this week, and some guy responded and said, and look, this is a very good comment. Said, aren't we looking for ball strikers every week? I mean, come on, what are we doing? And I said, yes, like you're right, and too often we're like, hey, good iron players should find success here. Yes, that's right. It's sustainable. That said, there are weeks when it matters more than other weeks, and this really is one of those weeks where, look, everyone's going to find the fairways with something less than driver at Harbor Town. It's going to be who can hit the best 8 irons and 9 irons throughout the entire week, and Tom Hoagie certainly can do that at 80-1. I think that's a really good number. And I'm going back to Eric Cole as well. He was playing some really good golf in the 3 weeks leading up to the Masters, didn't play last week. He's going to be like, I talked about this being a horse race this whole season. He's going to be that horse that's stomping and ready to get out of the gates and go. He hasn't played competitive golf in a week and a half. That's way too long for Eric Cole.
I can't argue with you there. See ya. You're going with the without market as well. A couple of long shots, including one we've talked about earlier in the show.
These are number plays mainly. Ryan Gerard, Sammy Valimaki. We've seen both of these guys kind of be in the conversation on Sunday here and there. I mean, they're not necessarily threatening to win tournaments. Actually, that's not true. Sammy Valimaki recently has been doing that. Ryan Gerard's been sort of at the top of the leaderboard. This is the type of tournament, signature field. If you look at the leaderboards over the last couple of years, like it really is like you look at the top 10, it's all the good guys, right? But there's always one or two that sort of sneak up there. And to me, when I see a guy like Ryan Gerard or Sammy Valimaki at 90 and 150 to 1, and I know there's spike potential for greater than one round potentially, it just seems to me that they could be one of those guys that sneaks into fourth place or, whatever, third place, whatever it is. So again, at these numbers, these are sprinkle plays, make no mistake about it. But I think they're worthy of a few bucks.
So I found this play at FanDuel, Cantlay Thomas and Connor's top 5, and it was 85 to 1. And then I priced it out myself with ties as well. On DraftKings, it was plus 91.45. I have to fit. I can't do these like 30 to 1 parlays because then Sobel gives me a dirty look on screen. So we can't do that. I got to throw in a bomb here. So this is Patrick Cantlay. We talked about the course history here. Justin Thomas, C and I like him. Corey Connors, every week I think that's the one I'm not as confident in, but at 91 to 1, I put a tenth of a unit on it or maybe more. Why can't you? We'll take a shot there. So, but what do you think? Are you okay with a plus 9,100 parlay?
I love the number. I love the parlay. You're trying to hit 60% of the top 5. That's just really hard to do.
With ties. So I can get, let's hope give me a lot of ties for fifth place.
Ties. It's going to keep chopping it if you get a lot of ties. But yes, I'm okay with it. Like I approve the effort. It's like A for effort, B minus for execution, but I'm okay with it.
See, this is a great one for you. Jen M says, second week betting on golf. How do you split your bets across outright finishers and daily matchups?
So everyone is different. I've actually talked about my process, Jen, when it comes to like the numbers I use and how much I bet per thing in the SportsLine Discord. So you can go back and look for that, but I'll just kind of give you a quick thing. When it comes to finishing positions, those are, for me, not as high confidence as matchups and particularly round matchups. So those are usually half unit plays. When it comes to round matchups, those are always full unit plays to me. Tournament matchups, typically full unit plays, but I play a lot more round matchups, as you might know from watching the early edge and following me on Twitter, a lot more round matchups than we're talking tournament matchups. So the other things we're betting on, of course, is first round leader and outright. There's other markets too, like nationality props. Those are usually, I just incorporate those into tournament matchups. But with my outrights, I don't spend a lot of money. It's always less than a unit, and it's typically between 0.6 and 0.8 units. And that still allows me to hit big, especially when I'm betting some guys that are, between 40 and 100 to 1, like Carl Phillips, when we hit 70 to 1 on that. So you can get a big payday, even though you're betting less than or spreading less than a unit across 4 or 5 different outrights. But to me, if you want to be sustainable in golf, you got to hit sort of the bread and butter plays. And those are the matchups. That's how I look at it. Some people might think or might say it's the finishing position market. But for me, I'm most successful with round matchups. So that's where I'm going to put a full unit on those really every time, and maybe even a little bit more depending on the confidence of it. But what you shouldn't do is spend a lot of what you're going to spend or bet what you're going to spend in a given week and put that on like outrights in first round leaders. You can't do that. It's not sustainable. You got to get really lucky. So it's fun to bet those and you want to put some money toward that. But certainly, it's all about hitting matchups week to week, in my opinion.
Sobel.
That was fantastic. I mean, we should put that on tape, play it for people every show, because that's fantastic. I'm going to tell you some things that I do and things you shouldn't do. I say it on the radio a lot because we get a lot of people who call in that they're listening to PGA Tour radio, so they're obviously big golf fans, but they're not really bettors. And they're like, what do I do? How do I start? And I always tell them the first thing to know is, what kind of bettor are you? There are people, I've got friends, they're like, I take $20. I split it up between 4 guys, $5 on 4 different long shots. If one of them hits, awesome. And if they don't, they're $20 on it. I just kind of looked at them on the leaderboard and, it wasn't a big deal. I know people who just go, Rory's my guy. Put money on Rory last week. I won a bunch of money and, put a couple hundred on him, whatever it might be. So know what type of bettor you are. The other thing I hear from people is betting on golf. that's a good way to lose all your money in a hurry. And it's like, no, that's not true whatsoever. But like Sia said, you've got to hit those bread and butter ones. Top 4. Don't be afraid to play a big name player at minus 150 for a top 40 with a pretty good unit size on there to increase your bankroll so that you can go after some more aggressive plays somewhere else. Me, I tend to be too aggressive, and I will completely admit it. I want to hit outrights. I want to hit some big numbers. I'm playing some live markets, seeing who's got some value somewhere, just because I don't know. It just, at some point, it just doesn't satisfy me to hit, even if it's a decent number for a top 20. I'll play them, but it's like, those are less fun for me. I want some fun ones. I'm a gambler. I like trying to hit some bigger numbers. And so again, it's just a matter of what type of gambler you want to be, what you're trying to hit. Is this like, man, if I can't afford to lose 5% of my bankroll this week, I need to win, then play it very conservatively. If it's like, it's disposable income, I'm fine with it, let's see what happens, then be a little bit more aggressive.
Thank God our friend Prop Stars is not watching the show when I say this, but when you're betting golf, I parlay everything. I mean, everything, always and forever.
Earmuffs, Jen.
Yeah, earmuffs. Let me put it this way. I put a ticket out on X the other day with Rory McIlroy at 67-1. Parlayed it with some random tennis that was played overnight. Sometimes you got to have a little bit of fun, guys. That's what golf betting is. That's what betting is in general. Is it the best way to maximize money? It can be if you hit your parlays on the first try. And if you don't, well, then good luck to you. I've had some great weeks. I've had some awful weeks. But you know what? It's all about having fun. And I think it's all about setting a budget and just trying to find what works for you and how much you want to win and how much you're willing to lose. Simple as that. Let's move on to the Corrales Puntacana, a tournament that I'm not going to play because I know that I'm going to lose. But one who is not is Nejad with 4 picks this week.
Yeah, it's actually 4.5, I guess, because the 5th pick is a 270-1 shot. I tweeted this. I tweeted this out earlier. John Pock at 270-1. He's 270-1 at FanDuel, BetMGM, and DraftKings. I think have him at 200-1. This is a guy who on Paspalum greens has actually showed up before. A, and B, his approach game has been really good lately, small sample size. And C, it's the Corrales Puntacana with Keith Mitchell headlining the field. John Pott just a couple of weeks ago was having a pretty good tournament. I think this guy has potential. Jason can correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty young guy on tour. And I just love this number. So I'm going to start there. But Chan Kim has been playing really good golf lately. And in this field, I like him at 35-1. Hayden Springer has kind of been all over the place, but I think he's starting to rein it in. And I do think he's a pretty good course fit. Henrik Norlander, who I share with Jason Sobel. I mean, talk about an approach monster. Now, this is a long course. And to a lot of people, it's, you want to have distance and be great off the tee. And yeah, that's true. But if you look at the leaderboards over the last 5 years or so, I mean, this is a tournament where approach players and shorter players are also having a ton of success. And Henrik Norlander kind of fits in that department. He can putt as well. Stephen Fisk, kind of more of a bomber, I believe, but has the all-around game. The metrics overall look really consistent. I shouldn't say consistent, look really good just in terms of like the main strokes gain metrics. So 45-1, I think that's worth a bet.
I respect Alex in the chat says Aldrich Potgieter single bullet here. That's fair. Better than Keith Mitchell. If you're playing Keith Mitchell at 16-1 or whatever it is that Joseph said, that number 14. I mean, that's crazy. You're nuts. And it'd be a really tough pill to swallow if he wins and I have to cross him off because he won the Corrales Puntacana. Yeah. Jason, Norlander and Montgomery, tell us.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm president of the Keith Mitchell fan club. I've lost a lot of money on him. I can't bet Keith Mitchell at 14-1. That's not happening this week. Potgieter, by the way, I like him. The problem with him, he's got a ton of length. It's a longer golf course. He better hit every green in regulation because I have zero confidence that he can hit a chip anywhere close to the hole. And so he'll grow into it. I think he's going to be a really good player at some point. He's got the offensive firepower, obviously, but it's just when it gets going bad right now, I'm not sure he can get out of his own way, so I'm going to stay away from him here. I'm with you, Sia, on Norlander. If you just look at his ball striking, his approach play, do the blind resume thing, and it looks like Colin Morikawa over the last 6 starts. It's really good. You look at Data Golf, and those green boxes are going way up like that because he's been really good with his irons. I'm waiting for him to win something. Taylor Montgomery, Ryan French, Monday Q Info on Twitter had the other day that Taylor Montgomery set the course record at Shadow Creek, where his dad, Monty, is the director of golf. I was actually supposed to play in a tournament. We were recruiting a pro, and I tried to get Taylor to come out and play in a tournament at Shadow with me and my buddies a couple years ago. He had to, I think he had an injury, and he was going out to the Kingdom to work with the TaylorMade guys that weekend, so he couldn't play with us. We might have gotten a 58 out of it. Might have been a pretty nice weekend for us if we had him, but we didn't. But I like the upside on Montgomery's game. He's a really good putter. If the ball striking's there, I think he's got a very big ceiling. I think that's a huge number for Montgomery, although I will say, and I will warn people, that the last 2 years, Billy Horschel and Matt Wallace reached 25-1 or shorter. The last 7 years, 6 of the winners have been 50-1 or shorter in Punta Cana. I think that has to do with just a lot of players just log jammed and bunched in that top/mid tier. And so there's just more guys there than in most other events because, you don't have the superstars and pushing guys down the line with bigger numbers. But that said, it might pay not to play too many long shots at this one. Hudson Swafford, the only guy in triple digits who's won this one in the last 7 years.
Good stat right there. All right, speaking of winning things, Nejad is winning a lot in OAD. He's 33rd overall in the early wedge pool. Matt CM9 leading with over $7.5 million, and there I am in 759th place with only 577K.
I lead Gaiman by 1. How about that?
Well, yeah, how about that? You're up on by $6,000, something like that. That is wild. Yeah. I will never be up there with you guys. I should have taken Rory McIlroy there as I did in Rick's pool. Let's see what we have this week. Patrick McDonald last week had John Rahm, so it dropped him a little bit. This week he's going with Sung Jae Im. Sobel, are you really doing it? Are we really doing Shane Lowry?
Yeah. I want it to hurt you so badly. Like, not only do you have to cross him off the list, but I get the one and done money.
Gross.
To get my outright money that I have on him. I mean, it's going to hurt you like 7 different ways.
Yep. Pain. True pain. See, this one, you and I were going to, share JT here, but I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, I think I still have Scottie Scheffler available to me, and this is a signature event. I kind of like your pick too. I worry that maybe there's something going on with the ball striking where he needs a couple more tournaments, but obviously, Scotty's the favorite for a reason. Again, I'm never comfortable being big on Justin Thomas. This does seem like a good place to use him. I'll go ahead and do it.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Scottie Scheffler is a big favorite for a reason. He won here last year, albeit he was coming off a Masters win. And I need to get back in the mix because I can't have Sobel taunt me like that. It's not good. I have to get back in it. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Later, it'll still pay off later if you have him somewhere else. Yeah. Are you expecting to get hurt or something after this?
No, but where's he going to win? Where's he going to win later?
Oakmont.
Without Rory in the field, where's he going
to win? Oakmont.
Oh, he can't beat Rory now? Is that the narrative?
I'm just right now.
What?
I'm just saying. I'm getting Scotty in a field without Rory, who's the best player in the world right now. And I don't have to worry about live guys.
Will he be in 2 months? Will you be singing the same tune in let's say 6 weeks?
I feel very confident in using Scottie Scheffler here. The only other place that I would have considered is the Memorial. I was just won there before.
Yeah, I was just saying. No, I hear you. I understand why you're playing him here, but I think the idea that Scotty should be more afraid of Rory than Rory of Scotty is a little silly to me, in spite of what we've seen so far.
By the way, in a few books, Scotty is now second favorite to Rory at the PGA Championship next month. I went back and looked. It's been at least a year and a half since Scotty played in a golf tournament where he wasn't the favorite.
Wow.
That's wild. I did put in a couple of bets for the PGA Championship already today with an NHL parlay. Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, do your own research. But now it is time as we look at the recap screen for Sobel Storytime and the RBC Heritage.
I did so many shows last week that I can't figure out where. Sia, when did I talk about Todd Lewis and tell my Todd Lewis story last week?
You told that one with me on the Thursday night show.
That was a Thursday night show. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go back-to-back Todd Lewis stories?
Sure.
I feel like I'm just pouring on now. One of my really good friends and a guy that I love hanging out with on the road. And this is going to be another story of hanging out with Todd Lewis on the road. But I've covered this event once. This was 10 years ago. I was with ESPN at the time. And they said, if Jordan Spieth wins the Masters, we want you to go follow him to Harbortown and just follow him all over the place. And I said, okay. So hanging out all week. It's a great place to hang out. And, you talk about, a nice laid back atmosphere to get some work done. It's terrific. So I'm writing about Jordan every day. And at some point I'm kind of hanging out with his team, and a couple of his managers are like, hey, let's go out tonight. A couple of Golf Channel guys, and we'll go out. And so it was two of Jordan's managers. And by the way, a little tangent here. Did you guys see the social media video that's making the rounds of Jordan getting a little nut tap?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was to his manager. Everyone's like, oh my God, look what he did to that guy. It's his manager, and it's not the first time. I guarantee it, guys. That was not some sort of controversial thing that everyone's supposed to be talking about. That was just between boys. Anyway, so we go out to a little establishment on Hilton Head, and it's his two managers, myself and Todd Lewis, and Todd's producer Andrew, and we're hanging out. We're having a couple drinks, like nothing crazy whatsoever. And we look over, and there's a few ladies sitting at the table just a little down the way, and we kind of waved to them, said hi, and we're all kind of talking golf, doing our thing. And at some point, the waiter comes over, and he's got a tray of shots, and he says, "These are from those women right over there." And we say, "Okay, cool. We'll take the shots. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it." They come over, and they say, "Oh my God, we just wanted to say hi." And they look at Todd, and they said, "Can we get a picture with you?" Todd's like, and we're like, there he goes, superstar. Okay, go ahead. We'll even I'll grab the phone. I'll take the picture. And Todd gets in between. I think there were four of them. Todd's got his arms around, like, two on each side. Todd takes a picture, and they go, "Thank you so much. Oh, you're the nicest." Yeah, of course, anytime. They said, "Wow, cannot wait to tell our husbands that we met Steve Sands." Go off my bar stool, guys.
I will say, Steve Sands is a resident of Scottsdale, and he does hang out with Charles Barkley at the Sportsbook on Sundays. So wow. He was sitting there. He didn't say anything to me, unfortunately. Charles did. Steve Sands didn't, but that's something. Poor Todd Lewis for that one. Guys, it's been an awesome show. We went a little long, but I always appreciate it. This is a big one coming off the Masters. So for Jason Sobel and Nejad, I am Eric Cohen. Thanks to producer Matt behind the scenes, who does a great job. And as I always like to say, let's hit it big. Good luck.